Hi everyone, welcome back to Trek on the Tube. As promised, in this video, we're going to go over all of the Star Trek television series. We're going to explain what they're all about and go over their main themes. The objective is to find the one television series that suits you the most that you can watch before Star Trek Discovery comes out. Of course you can watch them all, but the reason why I'm doing this is because you probably won't have time. So before we get into every separate television series, I wanted to take 2 seconds to explain what Star Trek is in general. Star Trek is a utopian science fiction franchise. It depicts humanity 2, 3, 4 centuries in the future. It shows us plenty of new worlds, plenty of new races, and mainly focuses on the United Federation of Planets. Mainly, every show has a group of officers working together to resolve science fiction issues.
You all right?
Dr. McCoy's potion is acting like all his potions, turning my stomach.
If your blood were red instead of green, you wouldn't have an upset stomach.
Now that we all know what we're talking about, let's get this done. Engage. The first show we're going to talk about is Star Trek, the original series. It came out in 1966, and it was one of the first shows in color. The show depicted a very diverse crew, all working together on the same ship, trying to resolve issues peacefully. Now this may seem a little ridiculous today, but in the 60s, having a female black officer on the bridge was something huge. There was also a Russian, an Asian, and even a Vulcan, which was an alien. The crew, working together on the Enterprise, went from planet to planet on a mission of exploration and discovery. The original series really focused on humanity's potential, what we could achieve working together as one. Not as different countries, but as one race, humans. Star Trek, the original series, would definitely be one of the Star Trek shows that I would recommend watching before Discovery comes out. It's the birth of the franchise, and most of the inspiration for Discovery will come from this show. The second show we're going to talk about is Star Trek, the animated series, which was released in 1973. Now this show is a bit peculiar because it's a direct follow-up to the original series. If I were to describe the animated series, all I could say is it's the same thing as the original series, but in a different format. The episodes are only 20 minutes long as opposed to 40 minutes long, but the themes and ideas remain the same. The only difference is the visual freedom that the animated style gave the creators. Aliens in the animated series truly look alien. They're orange, they're blue, they're green, they have tentacles, as opposed to just being human lookalikes like in the original series. Now, would I recommend you watch the animated series before Star Trek Discovery comes out? No. The animated series really is a follow-up to the original series. You want to watch it after the original series or after you've seen all of the rest of Star Trek's content. The third show is Star Trek The Next Generation, which came out in 1987 and ran into the 90s. The Next Generation resembles the original series quite a bit. We follow a diverse crew working together on a newer Enterprise, going from planet to planet, discovering new races. But where The Next Generation really shines is in its world building. The Next Generation introduces us to the huge world that is Star Trek. It shows us a lot of new races, a lot of new worlds, and it shows us their hierarchy, their structure, all their political views. The utopian vision of the future continues to be honored as both the show and the characters grow. So would I recommend watching The Next Generation before Star Trek Discovery comes out? Yes, definitely. Star Trek The Next Generation is one of the best examples of what Star Trek is. The fourth show is Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which came out in 1993 as The Next Generation was in its final seasons. Now Deep Space Nine is very different. It doesn't take place on a ship, it takes place on a space station. The utopian vision of Star Trek's creator Gene Roddenberry seems kind of blurred, but it really gives way to a more realistic vision of what the future could be. You have a lot of confrontation with a lot of different races that don't necessarily agree on the same thing. Deep Space Nine shows us the hardships of many races living together as one society on one space station. Another thing that differentiates Deep Space Nine from all the other Star Trek television series is it has a huge overarching story. Would I recommend watching Deep Space Nine before Star Trek Discovery comes out? Probably not. It is considered one of the best Star Trek shows, but it's just so different from the original series that I don't think it's the best representation of what Star Trek is. The fifth show is Star Trek Voyager, which came out in 1995 while Deep Space Nine was still in its third season. Star Trek Voyager takes place on a ship called the USS Voyager, and in a very funny way, it's the show that resembles the original series the most. The show depicts two opposing ships lost and stranded on the other side of the galaxy that need to work together in order to get home. This gave Star Trek Voyager an amazing opportunity to show us new races, new planets that we'd never seen before. The show really is about duty and family and how both those things can hold you together on your journey home. I would absolutely recommend watching Star Trek Voyager before Star Trek Discovery comes out. It's an accurate representation of what Star Trek is, and though it's quite episodic, there is an overarching story. The final show is Star Trek Enterprise, which came out in 2001. Up until the announcement of Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek Enterprise was the only prequel to the original series. The show depicts the humble beginnings of human spaceflight. It introduces us to races that we've already met, but in a different light because it's happening 100 years before the original series. The crew and humans in general are really learning about the technology that surrounds them, the races that surround them, and how big the universe really is. Because Star Trek Enterprise is quite different, because it happens before the original series, and because most Star Trek fans will tell you that it's not their favorite, I wouldn't recommend watching it before Star Trek Discovery comes out. So that's it. That's a description of all the shows. I hope you find one that really suits you. As I said, I would recommend either watching the original series or The Next Generation, or Voyager before Discovery comes out. Watching only one of those shows for the moment will be fine, and it will help you know if you like Star Trek or not. Keep in mind though, Discovery will be a modern television series set in the universe of Star Trek. I'm quite sure that a lot of people that won't like the other Star Trek television series will enjoy Star Trek Discovery. Modern storytelling, modern visual effects will have a huge impact on how much people like the show. I hope this helps. Let me know if you want any specific videos. Remember to like the video, subscribe, and tell everybody about this new channel. Live long and prosper.